Good evening. Welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I'm so glad you're here. I need to warn you, I have a co-host tonight that may show up. Chloe's been pretty vocal. She's glad her mom's home, and so she may end up being heard in the background or even seen in the picture. And so I apologize, but as always, hey, it's a home production, okay? Not a studio affair at all. I wanted to talk tonight about Sri Lanka, and the teacher in me wants to make sure that you have an idea where in the world Sri Lanka is. So let me share something so you can have it pinpointed in your thoughts and memory here. Sri Lanka is located just below India. Okay, it's an island country known for tourism, which has been devastated because of the pandemic, and also has a large agricultural presence, at least for their country. And one of the reasons that there is so much going on right now with Sri Lanka is their president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, made all farmers go to organic farming. He outlawed the importation of fertilizer and use of chemical fertilizers in agriculture in his country. And for the first time in Sri Lanka's history, they had to import rice because they weren't growing enough even for their own citizens. So they've been devastated economically. And the Rajapaksa family, although they seem to have, Gotabaya seems to have been elected in a fair election, it does make me wonder what kind of voting machines they used. He is known for nepotism, which is hiring family and placing them in high and well-paid positions. And he and his family have become billionaires in the course of his and his father's and other Rajapaksa families' reign. So I don't know. I have trouble with anybody that becomes rich when they're in public office. It tells me they're not serving their people, they're serving themselves, and usually at the expense of the people that live there. Okay, well, I want to read part of that email to you, so hang on, and I'm going to pull it up and make sure that my correspondent's name isn't part of what I share, okay? Sri Lanka is bankrupt. Officially, on 15th of March, 2022, Sri Lankans finally had enough of the Rajapaksa family business, or in other words, government, running their country. Protesting started and has continued ever since to end their government tyrannical reign. If there was any doubt that the war is a conspiracy theory, in other words, thinking it might not be true, they're experiencing it firsthand, this family that lives in Sri Lanka. We knew this was coming and necessary. Every day for them just seems to be another gut punch to destroy the population further. The most heartbreaking part has been stepping back from their community that she loves, respect and respect their free will and witness what was being done to them with the cure. Daily, I see the effects of it, she says. Thankfully, the face covering and tests have been dropped since the beginning of June. The following is not fear-mongering. It is the current reality that most Sri Lankans faced, not realizing it is being deliberately manipulated to fit a dark agenda. They have skyrocketing inflation and price hikes on a daily basis. There's severe food shortages. People simply can't afford the basics. Most eat once a day. There's medication shortages and essential medical procedures have been canceled. There's hospital strikes in process. Daily, there's up to 17 hours of electricity cuts. There's no cooking gas. Petrol and diesel shortages. Gee, we're seeing some of those, aren't we? And there's almost weekly fuel price increases. Again, we're seeing some of those, aren't we? People have passed over waiting in kilometer-long queues for their gas. A ban on fertilizers ensured staple food failures for the harvest season in August, and the list goes on. She says on the upside, what helps is that the accelerated implementation of these draconian measures, and I'm just going by summary here, has helped, as they're trying, as seems to be happening with other countries, by accelerating the timeline that these non-beneficial measures have been implemented and imposed. has helped to wake some of the sleepers up to the corruption and evil. So that's an upside. Now, she wanted to know about the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. His name is Ranil Wickremesinghe. Wickremesinghe. I don't know. I think I'm saying it close, but not quite. Forgive me, please. But anyway, Mr. W, I'm going to continue calling him by that name, is part of an opposition party to the Rajapaksa family, but he was appointed to his position by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the current and corrupt president. So it sounds promising that there's an opposition person in a place of authority, but he was appointed. Now, was he appointed as a desperate move by a tyrant to try to save his political future? Or is he a white hat member? That's what we're going to ask the cards tonight. So I've got a twofold question for the cards. Please let us know the person seen in the public eye and in public office as Ranil Wickremesinghe. What can you tell us about, what will the universe tell us and inform us about him, his intent, and will he be of benefit to the Sri Lankan people? And then I'd like to also ask the cards to give us a information about the current and near future situation in Sri Lanka. And then we're going to do a final 3 cards on the longer term future for Sri Lanka. So this is going to look a little different than usual, but as long as we let the cards know ahead of time how we're going to be laying them out, set our ego aside as we ask the question, then we should get, it doesn't matter about the layout as long as you don't change it after you ask the question. So bear with me, and you just learned a little more about tarot. Okay, our Prime Minister cards include Ace of Swords, 6 of Wands, and 6 of Cups. Our Sri Lanka current, we have the Knight of Wands, 3 of Swords, Hierophant. Okay, then we have the farther in the future card at the Fool, Page of Wands, and 9 of Pentacles. Okay, our top 3 cards were about the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe. And we've got an Ace of Swords up here. So that's telling me that he is, the universe is saying that his intent is good. And he is, yes, he's working with the Alliance. And there's going to be a victory card associated with him. So he is going to do good things. His appointment may have been a desperate move by Mr. Gotabaya to put someone in. Regardless, his intent is good and he is for the people. Now, the near future for Sri Lanka, there's heartache involved for them. As we know that people are starving there, okay? But the people are getting galvanized and they are rising up against a tyrannical deep state leader. And then the near future for them is looking good, or the 1 year future for them is looking good. We have the Fool, which keeps showing up on all world situations when I ask about a year from now. We have the Fool, which means we're in a whole new place as the human race and humanity coming up. And there's good things happening here. We got the Page of Wands, okay? Now he can be a little tricky, but remember he's my unofficial nod to the white hats too. Yeah, so, and I just love because, you know, There's times when number 46 does something outrageous, and I know a page of wands energy and said, hey, maybe this would wake him up. It wouldn't be funny to see him, fall off a bike or whatever. So, so he's a little bit at play here too with Sri Lanka. The white hats, in other words, are. I'm not going to say their hands are tied. They have to allow some situations to play out, but they're aware of it. And ultimately, it is going to be resolved in a beautiful way. Sri Lankans are going to have their independence from Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his family and be in a much better place. By the way, I understand that the Rajapaksa family, a lot of them have holed up in California and have big estates there. And I think part of the recovery process for Sri Lanka should be finding and returning those billions to help Sri Lanka pay off their enormous debt that right now they're unable to pay. And in the meantime, I'm going to do one more quick read about will other nations be coming to their aid. Right now, they're even trying, they can't pay the loans they have, they're trying to get more. It's really devastating. So let's do a quick read and see if other countries are going to be able, in a meaningful way, with real humanitarian aid, come to their aid. Again, we're asking, will humanitarian aid in meaningful amounts be received and get distributed to the Sri Lankan citizens in the next year? What's it looking like? We have the 9 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, Magician, 4 of Pentacles, 7 of Swords, 7 of Pentacles, and 5 of Swords. Okay, in the interim between now and a year from now, when things are different, what's going to happen? What was our question? Will humanitarian aid reach the people in meaningful amounts that it makes a difference? So we have the situation here we're asking about. And then in the near past, the Magician is at play. We were asking, he can be a little bit tricky, but he is one of manifestation. And for me, he often shows some balance more than trickiness. So there is going to be some relief. However, the corruption in their structures is so entrenched still that only part of what is sent is actually going to be received by the everyday citizens. Now, I don't know. If you're sending foods and medicines and things like that, I don't know how you can keep that from people, but time and again, we've seen humanitarian aid end up stockpiled and not distributed. And that's still going to be a problem for the Sri Lankan people. Okay. Now, some choices involved with that. Okay. 4 choices to do that. But the Sri Lankan people, this is only a small part of what they are willing to do to ensure change for their country and to bring about the end of the Rajapaksa regime. Okay, ultimately, again, between now and a year, that's looking good. The strength card is there. The people have more strength than they realize, even though they're being starved and facing incredible hardships. They've got some strength going on for them. They need to know that they need to temper some of their hopes, moderate some of their hopes, but the basic ones that they're asking for, which is enough food to feed their family and some governance that doesn't lead to starvation and depopulation, those are good ones to have. They won't be all the way there in a year. They're going to be farther along than they are now. So let's hope that humanitarian aid in meaningful amounts gets where it's needed in that poor country, because nobody should have food insecurity and be starving. And Chloe agrees. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, or at least felt informed by it, some topics aren't fun to learn about, but I try not to shy away from difficult topics. Again, we're far from Sri Lanka, but we can keep them in our thoughts, intentions, and prayers, and pray that the change the cards is showing is headed their way happens sooner, not later, and that the best possible outcome for all the ordinary citizens who are suffering there comes about quickly. So there's always something we can do. All right. Thank you so much. Good evening.